Welcome back to another exciting week of The Rebel's Edge. My brother Pete and I are going to break down exactly what is going on in the markets and whether the little bit of back and forth this weekend constituted a restarting of the war. I don't think we thought so, and we are benefiting from being able to buy it cheaper and then send it higher. All that and more on today's Rebel's Edge. The one and only John Daly, Pete. And you know what he said when we were down together at Topgolf? He said, you know, it's not an option to miss this show. It's not an option to miss the Rebel's Edge.
I knew I liked him.
And for those of you who need a $15 off on a Topgolf, if you scan that, 15 off courtesy of John Daly.
Nice.
All right. Well, Pete, interesting as always. You know, some people love to root against America, I guess, but I don't understand it either. But they were almost giddy when they heard that the war's going to restart because some guys were attacking U.S. ships and so forth. And for those who think that way, first of all, shame on you. Yep. Second of all, I'll point out, Pete, as Pete and I discussed this, folks, that when you have a situation like, let's say, a war going on, not everybody gets word that the war is over at the same time, folks. Mm-hmm. So do you know how long the longest fighters in the World War II Pacific kept going? It wasn't just a day. It wasn't just a week. One guy who was found on Guam had fought for 26 years, Pete, after the war was over. And then another guy fought for 28 years after the war was over. And another guy for 29. So far as I could find, Pete, that was the record. 29 years after the war was over, the guy finally surrendered December 18th, 1974. But just listen to some of the folks that hate America, and they'll say a couple of Iranian IRGC people in like a canoe firing off cap guns at an aircraft carrier. I don't think that quite restarts the war.
I don't think so. But they want an excuse, John. They want something out there, something negative. There's no doubt.
They do. So I'm going to make that the macro, Pete. The macro is, until you start seeing a lot of bombs dropping again from the U.S. and Israel and so forth, I don't think the war's restarted. I think there are some pockets of people that are very proud fighters that are not willing to give it up yet, but I don't think they represent the regime at this point. So That's what I'd say, Pete. What do you got for macro?
Yeah, I would agree with you. And I mean, this is just a tension situation, though, because, you know, people can make it bigger than it maybe is, John. But whatever the case is, there's a little bit of angst. There's a little bit of, you know, concern out there. And that's why we're seeing, you know, oil prices jump significantly from where they actually were just last week. So I think we were in the 84, 85 range, and here we are at 88. So we're up, you know, a decent percentage. But be interesting to see how this flows as we get a little further into the week. Is this really something, or is this something very small? We'll find out pretty quick.
And remember, it's not an option to follow the doofuses that want to tell you, oh yeah, the war's back on because some guy in a canoe was firing a machine gun at the hull of a boat that is like 4 inches thick or whatever. Yeah. All right. Well, Pete, let's dive into your VIX because as you said, crude oil prices went up. So did the VIX. How high did the VIX get?
And they go with each other. It's just amazing, John, of late, you know, the drop as well as the big pops that you get here and there. So pretty decent, 8% to the upside early. Last I looked, it was about 12%, John, because we were sniffing around 20, but not getting there. We were just underneath 20 last I looked. So call it just north of 19, maybe a little bit south of 2080 or 1980 or something like that. That's where we find ourselves with the VIX. Is that a big deal? No. Would it be, is it surprising? Not really, because we've come down so rapidly, John. We talked about just in 2 weeks or something like that, we went down from 31 all the way down to 17s. So here we are at 19. Sure, there's going to be a little bit of bump to the upside and the concerns about the price of oil. So that is something, and I think that it makes sense where we are. I don't know how sustainable it is right now if we do get up and over 20, but we'll find out pretty quickly on that.
Yeah. Well, let's do predictions then, Pete, because this plays right into both the crude oil markets and, of course, the VIX. And the prediction market today is the Strait of Hormuz, Pete. Traffic resumes to normal by the end of April. Well, it turned back up after being down today. It turned back up. And right now it stands at a 31% chance that we see the Strait of Hormuz traffic going back to normal by the end of April. There's about $19 million bet on this particular outcome, Pete. Now, if you go through the rest of it, you know, the further you go out in time, the greater and greater the possibility that Hormuz traffic goes back to normal. I will posit this, though, Pete. It is unlikely it ever goes totally back to normal because Saudi has begun shipping so much through their pipeline, 7 million barrels a day. And you know, rather than lose the income, they're probably just going to build another couple $1 billion worth of pipeline right next to it so they can bring that up to 10 or 12 million. And then the Strait of Hormuz, yeah, that'll be for cargo maybe, but it won't be for oil. What do you think?
Yeah, no, and I agree with you. And I like the idea of what you talked about there, because I think something that people were missing was early on with all the bombing and so forth, you know, there was a lot of damage that was done, and refineries was one of them. Pipelines could be another one of them. And I think that, you know, the possibility of that being something as it's been as it gets rebuilt, how exactly are they going to construct it? And I think that will be something that maybe gives a better chance into the future. But, you know, time will tell when it comes to that, John. That's something that it's a long ways over there for those folks that are going to be moving that around. So anyway, do we see this starting to improve as we get out of April? April's not that much long longevity left, John. We got about a week and a half. So we'll see how fast things can move along as we try to figure out how things go within the strait.
Well, then we've got, Pete, psilocybin, which is, of course, psilocybin, which happens to be, if it's in a mushroom form, that's psilocybin, but there are other psychedelics. And for years, they have been banned in the United States. Much like cocaine, you'd go to prison, potentially, for selling them. Now, there was one state, I think, Pete, that actually dropped their, said it was legal with a medical doctor's supervision or something. But a bunch of Navy SEALs, which came back with all kinds of issues, PTSD and so forth, along with other members of the military, along with soccer players, football players, people that take repetitive head injuries and things like that, and people with addictions to opioids or whatever. Turns out there's this ibogaine that is a plant root out of Africa, Pete. And Marcus Luttrell, the guy from Lone Survivor, Marcus Luttrell himself was championing this as how he got off of the opioids that unfortunately the VA put the, you know, soldiers on when they'd come back and they just, you know, had issues like PTSD and other issues. And the sad thing is, Pete, that number one, it makes them sort of lose their personality. Number two, it is addictive as heck. And how do you break that addiction? Well, he and the former governor of Texas and a number of other people, including Joe Rogan, brought this to the president of the United States and Secretary Kennedy. And they said, look, this stops addiction. 80% of people that take this particular plant root, Pete, find their addiction stops. 80% with no side effects. And the after 2 doses, 90% say no more addiction. So luckily, this president had the guts to say, I'll listen. He heard what the folks said, people like Marcus Luttrell and Joe Rogan, and he said, I'm going to fast track this. Kennedy, get over here. I want you to fast track this. And that's what he did. Anyway, that's a long-winded explanation, folks, for why we're seeing a bunch of stocks that are in this psychedelic focused area to address PTSD and addiction and so forth. We have talked about one of them on the show because they actually pay us to help promote them, and that is Heal Us, H-E-L-P. And H-E-L-P, Heal Us, they named it that, Pete, because don't treat us, heal us. And they're one of the many companies doing this. But take a look at this one, Pete, and I'll let you talk because I'm probably wearing out my time here. But,
you're good.
I mean, Compass. Take a look at these guys. We had Compass Pathway Unusual Activity at the end of March, $5.60 on what the president and Joe Rogan and Marcus Luttrell and all these folks getting together, what they have done to fast track it. This one pops 40% today. When I shot the picture, it was up 37%. And we had the unusual activity in the calls, Pete, when they were 25 cents, and they went 10x that today, because the right to buy it at 7 is worth $2.25 when it's trading 9.13. Bang.
And if it gets all the way up to where the 52-week highs were, John, which is above 10, that's a pretty nice move. I think it's absolutely incredible. Donald Trump, the fact that president, I should say, signing that executive order and so forth to accelerate this whole research, I think is phenomenal. Obviously, there's a lot of folks there that brought him a lot of information that he was able to go through, get these approvals done with a clear path and so forth. So kudos to all of these people, John, including obviously the president, for sort of moving this thing on at a much better rapid pace so that people can get better and get help as opposed to being stuck where they've been. So 52-week highs, yes. Some pretty good highs on some of those other names, absolutely, that are part of this world. Sure, it's been an incredible run. I'm glad we had the unusual option activity in there as well. And that's an unbelievable when you think about it, John. 25 cents going up to, I think 3 must have been at least the high, I would say, close to 3. So interesting to see how that whole thing played out. Fantastic news for all those people, especially the folks in the military, but others as well, that are going to be able to, hopefully with the fast track, this will save them and give them hope and everything else. So kudos to everybody on this one.
Yep, absolutely. And the president, I think, Pete, I think he had a brother that was addicted to alcohol.
Yeah.
And this isn't just for drugs, folks. This can get you off of all kinds of addictive substances, heroin, alcohol, opioids, and so forth, as well as treating those PTSD and so forth. So thank goodness, Pete, as you said. All right, let's talk about SILA and OWL. OWL is Blue Owl Real Estate Capital. And what they did was they paid $2.4 billion to buy SILA, S-I-L-A Realty Trust, Pete. And it gives them one of the largest healthcare net lease transactions of the year. And man, stock moving up pretty good, SILA that is, seeing some nice upside because of this.
Yeah, unbelievable, really, John. And the numbers are staggering. I didn't realize at all that it was going to be that high of a number, but it is 2.4 billion, as you were talking about. I mean, that's a heck of an acquisition. It seems like Blue Owl is doing a really phenomenal job there, John. These guys over at SILA had 137 different properties. So makes some sense. They're in an area that has been growing and growing, and they've been developing things out there. The portfolio, 65 U.S. markets are exposed by what they've got. So this is amazing. This is another one that's a big acquisition. And we've been seeing more and more of that, John. It's why we've been talking about these financials for so long and how important investment banking is out there and why they crushed it again this quarter, again and again and again. Go through it all. You go back and you look at the investment bank side of all of this. You know what? You can point your finger right to that. And that's exactly what we're seeing here once again.
Well, this one, Pete, we just did a research report, folks, on this, the race for space and so forth. Yeah. And right out of the gate today, Pete, we have AST Space Mobile tumbling because Jeff Bezos's company, which is known as Blue Origin, was taking one of ASTS's Bluebird 7 satellites into orbit, but it didn't get up high enough. Now it launched and it got up there, but lower than planned orbit meant it wasn't going to communicate the way they needed it to. So I like this term, Pete. So they deorbited it, which means they basically let it tumble back down and burn up in the atmosphere, I guess, but deorbited. I like that one. What do you think of? What do you think of this one, Pete?
Yeah, well, it's unfortunate. We all would like to see more and more and more and more, and that's what we're getting out of Bezos and others. I mean, it's just absolutely amazing, right? I mean, what they've done with space, John, and what their goals are is 45 satellites is what they'd like to have up there by year's end. So when you look at some of these numbers and you see this one, okay, it's only one. They don't want to have too many more of these because of cost, obviously. But it is a big deal. The deorbiting, like you were just talking about. I mean, the fact that they were up in the upper stage for separation, and because of the problem, and they weren't able to get things taken care of the right way, it caused them to actually have to basically get rid of the mission, essentially, is what's happening here. So they got plenty more that they're going to be shooting up there. And like I say, the goal being 45, this is one that missed. It's going to cost them something, but they talked also about the fact that they think they can make it up. So as time goes on, so it's going to be pretty interesting. This is a stock that I think a lot of people are pretty attracted to because of what they've been able to put out there.
ASTS folks, and they had insurance on this satellite.
Yes.
So yeah, they lost this one, but this is going to, like Pete said, put them on track for 45 this year. Bezos, by the way, Pete, has 10,200, I believe. He's launched 11,000. Some of them have burned out already because they've been up there so long, but he's still got 10,200 up there. So ASTS, a lot of room to grow.
Yep.
All right. What about U.S. rare earths, Pete? USAR, basically they announced an agreement to acquire something known as Sierra Verde, which is a rare earth mine in Brazil. And obviously, rare earths, we talk about it time and time again, but look at Albemarle last week, folks, ALB. Rare earths are what you need for the lithium and the cobalt and the manganese and the tungsten and all this stuff that goes into missiles as well as batteries. Mm-hmm. And if you want to see more electric vehicles and so forth, well, you're going to have somebody go out there and mine the stuff, and USAR is one of those someones.
Yep, it's 100% that they're going to acquire them, John. So it's not like they're just grabbing a piece; they're just grabbing the entire thing. And I like the fact that they're doing that because we all know about the rare earths and how many of them are over in China, but we also know that there's a pretty substantial amount down there in South America as well, particularly Brazil. So big deal. Another one, John, $2.8 billion total. I mean, this is 300 million of it is in cash. This is another one where, it sounds to me like the financial world has gotten another one that they've got an opportunity to do something with. So I think it's pretty interesting to see where they are. I like the acquisition. I think that we're going to see more and more and more of that, John, because there are certain places around the world that I think are a little bit more comfortable for folks to go through some of the process of doing something like this and acquiring it. And this is a big one. This is going to be very, very big for the United States itself.
Well, as far as sports today, Pete, we didn't have a great selection to go through for our sports videos. Sorry, folks, but Pete nonetheless has his Red Zone Sports. So take it away, Pete.
Well, I would say this. If you wanted to watch a video today, the video that I would have watched, there's two. One of them was LeBron James not being touched, but grabbing his head as if somebody hit him with a hammer. I mean, it's gotten to the point of absolutely ridiculous. And if you watch it on Twitter or whatever, social you want to look at, it's just become ridiculous, John. I'm absolutely ridiculous. The other thing I'd like to point out was, and there was some video of it. I should have shot that over to you earlier today, but there's a quarterback here in northern Minnesota who is 6'6", about 240, has a gun for an arm, has great numbers when it comes to touchdowns versus interceptions and so forth. Is he going to get drafted? Probably not. Is he going to be a guy who probably can make a team in the NFL? I would say yes. So people might want to keep an eye on this young man. He was really, really special. I was watching it and I was thinking, I wonder if John's going to send this one over as one of his sports picks or whatever. But way up there, John, up the Iron Range, as they like to call it in Minnesota. And big kid, strong arm, very, very good about not throwing too many interceptions. He's got the body kind of like a Josh Allen. So fun to watch. I got a guy that does not have a body like Josh Allen. He's 28 years old, Dexter Lawrence. Now, explain this one to me, John, because I don't think there's a good explanation anybody can
Sexy Dexy.
Well,
Sexy Dex, that's what he goes by.
Is Sexy Dexy, was he a really good defensive lineman for a while? I'd say yes. You'd absolutely say, you know what? He's big, he's strong, he's fast, he's all the things we talk about when guys come out of the combine and they say, oh, about this. He is a heck of a player. That being said, John, he's 28 years old. He's got a monster contract. Cincinnati's going to go out there and trade the 10th pick. Ridiculous, by the way. The 10th pick in the entire draft to pick up a 28-year-old guy who's coming off his worst years as an NFL player. And oh, by the way, he's already played 7 seasons. Do you think he's a little bit beat up and starting to get maybe that age that guys get where it starts to go down? Clearly last year is one of those, John. So $28 million is what they're going to do as a 1-year extension to him. They're giving up the 10th pick in the draft from Cincinnati, goes to the Giants. You know who's a stud? John Harbaugh. He's a stud. And why do I say that? Well, because he's now the head coach at the Giants, and they're making some moves that are moving guys around a little bit. And I think this could be pretty special, John, because they've already got their picks and blah, blah, blah. Now all of a sudden you get the 10th pick in the draft. I would say you're going to be able to get a great defensive lineman, maybe a edge rusher, maybe a tackle type guy, but you can pick up somebody. And I think it's going to be really, really magnificent for the Giants. I don't understand this trade at all. Can you tell me why would they do that? Because you know what? Think about the financial part of it. The financial part of it is a rookie contract is a thing of beauty for the NFL because the rookie contract is, it holds back some of those numbers. So it's an amazing thing to watch that these guys decided to make this. And I'm not surprised that Cincinnati, John, or maybe even it could have been the Jets making a move like this just because this is sort of what these guys do. And they just don't seem to understand the best way to actually execute. And the way you execute is try to get as many draft picks as you can and see how many of those guys stick, because money-wise, that puts you in a great spot. And if you've got a guy who's 21 years old, maybe he's an old 22, that's a long ways for being 28 years old and 7 years in the NFL right now. What the heck do you think happened with the Cincinnati Bengals here?
I think they got robbed.
Yeah.
I think they got robbed, Pete. The 10th pick, it could even be your guy from Oregon is available there, Pete.
Yeah.
Theanen? I forget how to I forget how to pronounce his name. The safety could be available there. You could pick up that guy from Ohio State, maybe. Mm-hmm. One of those. They're going to get Styles probably. That's what the betting money is right now, Pete. Mm-hmm. That they'll get Styles with the 5th pick in the draft. So I mean, come on now. This is like just crazy town. And as you said, Pete, you're not going to have to pay the guy they get with the 10th pick anywhere near the money that you're paying for a 28-year-old 3-time Pro Bowler that might be on the downhill slide. I mean, I know you're a big Clemson fan, and this kid was a beast, but he certainly wasn't playing like a beast last year, Pete.
No.
So, you're 6'4", you're 340. Just being 6'4" and 340 weighs on you, and the pun is intended. Imagine his joints, Pete, as well as 7 years in the NFL. I think this is a great move by Harbaugh, and now they've got 2 picks in the top 10. That's lights out.
I think the Giants have, and you know what? They're sitting with this kind of folds us right into this next one, John. I was looking out there, right? So you know how many quarterbacks in a lot of these drafts are in the first round? One. One. The first pick in the draft. There's a lot of guys with the mock drafts. You know how it is. I mean, every guy on God's green earth. You and I may as well have our mock drafts out there too, John, because you know what? They'd be interesting, and I'll bet you they'd be a lot smarter than a lot of these other characters because they just go off of paper. They just go off of what happened at the combine. They just go off of all this stuff. Show me a football player. Show me just a little bit of game film on somebody who's playing against a competitor, a real competitor, right? Like maybe it's the Ohio State-Michigan game, and I want to look at an offensive tackle from Ohio State. That's the game I'd probably put on. I want to see how that guy's going to play. The combine, it's kind of fun. We kick it around. It's special. You know, you see all these freaks out there. But the reality is that's a very small part of it, in my opinion. But so right now, most people have just one pick as a quarterback in the first round. Now, there's some damn good quarterbacks out there, I think, this year. But in a lot of cases, because of where people are lined up right now, they really don't have the opportunity to take a quarterback because they already probably have a quarterback. They need something else. And so that's, you know, Minnesota Vikings to be a great example of that, right? You've already got Kirk Cousins. You already got JJ. You're not going to take a quarterback in the first round at the 18th pick. But here's one that I'm going to throw out at you. I think you could probably drop down if you're the Arizona Cardinals. I think you could drop down, John, maybe down towards 10 or 12 or somewhere in there. But I went through it, and I was taking a look. Does Tennessee need a quarterback? No. They took the first pick in the draft last year. Do the Giants need one? Absolutely not. They got the kid from Ole Miss that they like so much. Cleveland does love to just draft any quarterback and every quarterback. Hell, they had 5 of them on their freaking list last year. You got Washington. They don't need a quarterback. The Saints, well, maybe the Saints. So you could actually trade down to somebody who's looking for something else, John, and still get Ty Simpson from Alabama, who, when you look at his numbers, they're pretty explosive numbers. Now, towards the end of the year, did he have a little bit of a drag? Yes, he did. But I still liked him. Threw 28 touchdowns last year. He got sacked 34 times total in his entire career. So the good news is he's not been beaten up too bad. You know, he's got the size, he's got arm strength, he's got unbelievable release from the football. I just think that if I'm them, I trade down a little bit and I take a quarterback because you know what? Here's the quarterbacks he's going to be going into camp with if it's Ty Simpson, John. Jacoby Brissett. How many teams has this guy been the third string quarterback of in the last 10 years? Pretty much all of them, right? Then you've got Gardner Minshew. I think it all says it all right there. And then Caden Slovis. Do you know who that is? Do you know where he played? I mean, I don't know. So they need a quarterback. They're going to take a quarterback. They take Ty Simpson. But like I say, they don't have to take them all the way up to where their draft pick is. I think they could trade down maybe to the 10th, 11th position and find themselves with a quarterback and something else. Maybe it's a edge rusher or whatever, because they're real deep in that. That's what everybody's projecting is they're going to take an edge rusher. Well, that's great, but who's going to quarterback the damn team?
Yeah, well, and where I think you're absolutely right, Pete, is I saw Chucky talking with Ty Simpson. And that interview where you're seeing Ty Simpson throw, you're seeing, John Gruden basically listen to him because he actually listens to those players.
Yeah.
He doesn't just yell at them or something, but he had some creative things he was doing with him, and the kid was very receptive. Mm-hmm. So I got to think you're right. If you could get Ty Simpson, a big, strong kid that comes from, like you said, a program where you're playing real players every week, you're not playing the little sisters of the poor. You're lined up against some of the best because he's down there at Alabama in the SEC. Mm-hmm. I'd say go for it, especially like you say, since he might be able to trade down a little and get 2 big players instead of just the one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think it's a great opportunity, and we'll find out. There's a reason why Arizona's got to pick that high, though, John, because they got a bunch of numbnuts in that freaking office up there trying to figure out what players to get. I mean, just looking at the 3 quarterbacks alone says it all. I mean, the 3 that they've got right now, I think that kind of says everything about Arizona right now. But you know what? It also gives them an opportunity to maybe pull their heads out of their rear ends and actually figure it out that this could be big for them. So we'll see how that whole thing plays out too.
Yeah. Well, we're just a week away, Pete.
Yep.
I mean, next week we get the draft. So I can't wait. We'll see exactly. I guess we have to do our mock drafts the rest of the week or something, Pete.
Yeah.
But we will. And we'll put them out there and see how we do. Thanks for joining us today, folks. We appreciate it as always. He is Pete Najarian. You see his name just like mine right under here. That's our Twitter handles. Jon Najarian, Pete Najarian. We'll see you tomorrow at 1 p.m. Eastern Time. Right, Pete?
See you then. Giddy up.